Welcome again to another edition of My Car Guru with me, Lenny Lawson, the non-self-proclaimed car guru. That label was applied to me by a customer in the showroom at my car dealership. We were talking one day, and I was explaining to her about a mechanic or a situation she was having with her car in the service department, and she just looked at me. She says, "You're just like a car guru." And a little light bulb went off over tops of my head. And I said, okay, I could use that. And so that's when I changed the name of my radio program to My Car Guru. So I want to be your car guru. Today we're going to be busting a myth. Well, it's kind of a half-truth. So sometimes it's a myth and sometimes it's quite true. The truth about hybrids, a hybrid vehicle. Do you own one? Are you thinking about buying one? Well, these are things that you need. Well, this particular program is one you need to listen to. So I ask this question, is it a myth that buying a hybrid could be a car, could be a truck, could be an SUV? Is it a myth that it actually saves you money in the long run when you consider the higher upfront cost and the fuel savings? I think that's a legit question, don't you? I wish more people would look at car buying with that type of logical question. Do we really need to do this? Does it make sense to go out and buy this particular vehicle when our current vehicle costs us less to operate, costs us less to insure? The interest rate that we're paying right now is 1.9. If we buy a new one, it's going to be 5.9. Are you considering all the different variables? But let's just hone in on hybrid. Well, it's really not a myth that they save fuel, because they do, but it's not automatically true for every buyer. So whether a hybrid saves you money, whether it's in the long run or short run, depends on 5 things. Number 1, how much extra does the hybrid cost? Number 2, how many miles do you drive? Number 3, what type of driving do you do? In other words, is it mostly in the city or out on the highway? Are you commuting from long distances? Do you use it to travel in? All of these questions factor into the decision. Also, number 4, gas prices. And number 5, how long do you keep the vehicle? For many people, hybrids do save money overall. For others, it just doesn't make sense from a math standpoint. So where do hybrids save money? Well, modern hybrids cost typically from $1,000 to $3,000 more than a comparable gas vehicle. Now, here's the problem with that. That's based on MSRP. You've got many dealers, Toyota dealers, Hyundai dealers. They'll charge well over MSRP for a hybrid, and they'll sell a gasoline version of the same vehicle for the factory invoice. So that $1,000 to $3,000 difference in MSRP could swell to $5,000 or $6,000. Then the math looks totally different. Wouldn't you agree? Let's look at a real-world example. A gas sedan gets 34 miles per gallon versus a hybrid that gets 50 miles per gallon. At 15,000 miles per year, that can save anywhere from $400 to $700 annually in fuel, depending on gas prices. So that means that the break-even point, which I think you have to consider, would be anywhere from 2 to 5 years for average drivers. Faster if you drive a lot of miles, and much slower for low-mileage drivers. A person that drives 25,000 miles a year can recover the extra cost of a hybrid pretty quickly. A retiree driving 5,000 miles per year may never recover it. Oh, but they have to have a hybrid. Why? Well, because that's what their kids said they needed to have. Oh, you got to go buy a hybrid. It'll save you so much money. Really? Maybe not. So, how does the type of driving factor in? Well, hybrids do better around town. If you look at the EPA ratings on the window sticker of a hybrid, you'll see in most cases the city driving mileage numbers are higher than the highway driving mileage numbers. And it's because of just the way that hybrids operate. The motor shuts off. You go to a traffic light, stop and go traffic, and you don't have real heavy acceleration, I mean, the hybrid will run under battery power for most of the time. That's why they get better fuel economy, because they're not using any fuel. So city driving, stop-and-go traffic, the hybrid is a good choice. But if you mostly drive on the interstate, you take long trips, you're at a steady speed on the highway, then the advantage kind of goes away. A lot of people worry about long-term cost of hybrids. What's it going to cost to replace the battery? Well, for probably 8 to 10 years, you don't have to worry about that, because in most cases, hybrid batteries are warranted for that period of time, 8 to 10 years. And you probably won't have to worry about doing anything with the battery until it gets 150 to 200,000 miles on it. And replacement costs have come down substantially compared to the very early hybrids. So hybrids often do save money in other ways too. People forget this. Because they use regenerative braking, the vehicle slows down without applying the brakes. So the brakes last longer, brake pads, that is. Many hybrids are mechanically gentle on engines and transmissions because the electric motor is doing a whole lot of the work. Now, a traditional hybrid vehicle is different from a plug-in hybrid, the purpose of which is to allow you to drive, anywhere from 25 to 50 miles pure electric, and then it switches over to the gasoline engine. So it's a really different experience, and make sure that you know what you're buying. Or is this just a regular hybrid, or is a plug-in hybrid? Because you may be severely disappointed if you get home only to find out that you have to completely change the wiring in your garage in order that you can plug this thing in every night. So I guess neither of these statements is true. Hybrids never save money because they cost more up front. That's first statement. Second statement, a hybrid always saves money. That's not true either. The truth is, if you are a high-mileage city and suburban driver, you're probably going to come out ahead. Probably. Low-mileage rural highway drivers, probably not going to come out ahead buying a hybrid. But either way, the savings are usually very moderate, and the extra costs are also very moderate. It's not a life-changing thing. For me, I'd rather just go ahead and buy a gasoline engine. Forget about it, because of the additional technology that's involved in the hybrid. It's just more stuff to go wrong. I'll be back in just uno momento. Okay, so you've made up your mind you're buying a hybrid. How does it work? Do you have any idea? Or are you just one of those people that don't care how it works as long as it does? I think the majority of people are that way. They get all caught up in this mentality. Oh, we got to buy a hybrid. Everybody's telling us to buy a hybrid. Oh, we got to look at a full electric vehicle like a Tesla or something like that. Everybody says, oh, you got to have one of these. No, you don't. You don't have to. You need to think about it. What's best for your lifestyle? What makes sense for the way you drive? What about the cost of insurance? What happens if you have an accident? Where do you have to go to get it repaired? It's one of the reasons I wouldn't want to buy a Tesla. I don't want to have to drive 100-mile, or let's see, probably for me, 140-mile round trip to get any service work done, unless they will come to my house, and then I have to wait. And what if they have to order parts? I'm stranded. Maybe they'll bring me a loaner car. It's just too many advantages, I think, from buying from a dealer that is in your region or local in your same town. It's just so much more convenient. And hopefully they'll provide a high level of service and you can be happy doing business with them. And if you can, it just works better because the dealer is a part of your car life. Now, if you abandon the dealer and decide to start going with independent shops, same thing. As long as they're close, as long as you trust them and they can fix your car right the first time, then it's more convenient. And I will pay extra personally for convenience. I will. Okay, I think it's important to talk about the differences between just a regular gasoline engine vehicle, what is referred to as an ICE vehicle, not to be confused with immigration enforcement. Internal combustion engine Okay. The main parts of a hybrid are the gasoline engine, which is usually smaller and more fuel efficient than a traditional engine. And it may be called upon to drive the wheels directly. I'll talk about it, the new Nissan that's getting ready to come out, the new Nissan Rogue, which is a different approach to the hybrid vehicle. But the engine also can generate electricity, or it can do both. The electric motor can move the car, can power the car alone at low speeds. I mean, it's not going to push you down the interstate at 65 miles an hour. It can, mostly when you're going downhill, because the gasoline engine will shut off. It can also assist in acceleration. It's one of the reasons why my F-150 Power Boost, which is a hybrid, has, well, probably 30 or 40 more horsepower than the regular F-150 because it has the extra oomph provided by the electric motor. So there's a hybrid battery pack. This stores electricity for the electric motor. You know, even though it's a hybrid and it has a battery that will drive the wheels through the electric motor, it still is most of them are 12-volt systems. They have a 12-volt battery also. The 12-volt is probably going to be out there underneath the hood just like any other normal car, and it's designed to get the internal combustion engine started and to help run accessories and different things on the car, and then it goes to sleep. The alternator takes over, and the electric motor on the vehicle takes over much of the responsibility of acceleration and some braking. Now, when you compare the battery to a full EV, the battery pack is much smaller on a hybrid. And you don't have to plug it in to anything. It charges itself automatically. Now, there is something on there. Now, this is where it gets expensive and complicated. It's called the power control system, and it's basically the brain of the hybrid. And it's constantly making decisions which power source to use, the battery or the motor. It also decides when to charge the battery, when to shut off the gas engine, how to maximize efficiency. Needless to say, a hybrid is worthless without its brain, just like we are. And when something goes wrong with this particular component, you're dead in the water. The vehicle won't run, either on gas or electric. So in different situations, like starting from a stop, many hybrids initially move the vehicle with the electric motor only. They're only really useful at low speeds, and that's why hybrids are excellent in city traffic. Moderate cruising, the gasoline engine usually takes over because engines are more efficient at steady speeds than batteries are. Under hard acceleration, both the gasoline engine and the electric motor are going to work together. It gives the vehicle extra torque, better acceleration, and allows the gas engine to be smaller in the vehicle because it's boosted by the electric motor. One of the most important features of a hybrid is the braking. Like I said, when you brake, the electric motor reverses the function and becomes a generator. And instead of wasting energy as heat, the car captures it, stores it back in the battery. It's called regenerative braking. So there are different types of hybrids. One is called a mild hybrid that basically assists the engine. It usually cannot drive the car alone. For example, when you pull up to a red light, a lot of people hate this, and the engine shuts off. That is kind of considered a mild hybrid, okay, because it's the auto start stop feature that the government mandated many years ago. And Donald Trump has recently said, okay, you don't have to do that anymore. Well, that decision will last until the next administration comes in. If it happens to be Democrats, we get those buttons back because I guess they think that it will save tons and tons of fuel over the long run. Maybe it will. I don't know. A full hybrid would be like the hybrids that Toyota sells, the Prius, the Highlander. I guess they have a bunch of others. So does Honda, and Ford has the Maverick and the F-150 and the Escape. And I know Hyundai has all kinds of different hybrid options. These are the vehicles that most people think of when they're thinking of buying a hybrid. It's a full hybrid, not a plug-in hybrid. It has a much larger battery. It can be plugged in. like an electric vehicle. As I said, it can often drive 20 to 50 miles on electricity alone. And after the battery depletes, it behaves like a normal vehicle. Toyota RAV4 Prime Ford Escape plug-in hybrid, these are some examples. Again, just make sure you know what you're buying if you're buying a hybrid. And always consider the gasoline version. Look at the price difference. Because when you do the math, if you end up having to pay $5,000 or $6,000 more for a hybrid, you will never recover that in fuel savings. Makes no sense to do it then, does it? And finally, there are 3 different mechanical designs for those of you who care about the mechanical things, the nuts and bolts of how this works. The first type of hybrid is called a series hybrid. These really haven't been big in the United States yet, but it's coming with the new Nissan Rogue. This is where the engine is a generator. It has no direct connection to the wheels. That generator generates electricity, which powers the electric motor, which powers the wheels. So when you're driving the new Nissan Rogue, it will feel like an EV. Very smooth, very quiet. The engine will only kick on when it needs additional juice to run the thing. I'm really excited about this one because personally, I don't like necessarily the way the engine comes on and goes off and comes on and goes off on a hybrid. I guess you get to a point where you don't notice it as much, I guess. Those of you who have a hybrid, you know what I'm talking about. Oh, you're so proud that you're getting 40 to 50 miles per gallon. You've probably learned a way to ignore that. Good for you. Okay, another type, we talked about the series hybrid, the parallel hybrid. This is the engine and the motor can drive the wheels directly. When I say the engine and the electric motor, both can drive the wheels directly. This is a very common design. And then you have the power split hybrid. This is why many Toyota and Ford hybrids feel the way they feel. It has a series behavior and a parallel behavior. It uses a planetary gear set to blend the power sources very smoothly. So you can actually run on just electric, just the internal combustion engine, or both, like my Power Boost F-150. The electric motor enhances the gasoline engine when you're towing, when you're going up a hill under hard acceleration. And it works really well. So the good thing about most hybrids is they last a pretty long time. It's not like you have to worry about replacing the battery like you do in a full battery electric vehicle. I mean, it just, until the cost come down for batteries, the EV thing is going to be something that you would never want to buy. You would want to lease it and let it become somebody else's problem at the end of the 3-year lease. But now hybrids are a different thing, and it's a much safer purchase, but it doesn't always make sense. And that's why it's important to do the comparison between just the regular gas engine and the hybrid. Don't just get caught up in all the hype because it could end up costing you a lot more money. Okay, I'll be back in just 1 minute. Okay, I am back. We sell electric riding lawnmowers at my lawnmower and tractor dealership called Green Outdoor in Greenville, Tennessee. We also sell mowers that nobody has to ride on. It's electric. It's a robot lawnmower. Now, I haven't tried that out yet, and I'm probably not going to, because I'm one of those weirdos that really enjoys mowing grass. It's one of the few things that I can do that I can see immediate results. Everything else takes too long to develop. And that's one, it's just, I don't know, and I can create a work of art. My wife says, "Boy, that yard looks good. It looks like a quilt." And I say, "I know. I designed it that way." But back to the electrification of the world. I just wish we could go back to simplified vehicles where we didn't have all this technology. Like when I first started selling cars, 48 years ago. I mean, if a vehicle had power windows, it was loaded. And then if you added cruise control and an 8-track tape deck, that was about all there was. But now, we've got vehicles like I was driving down the road the other day, and I normally drive it like with one hand, and I like to put it kind of in the center top of the steering wheel. I know you're not supposed to. You're supposed to be at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. But occasionally I'll let that hand go up there. Well, it blocks the camera that's watching me, that's making sure that I'm paying attention. What business is it of theirs? I guess it's just some safety device. But yeah, I've got multiple cameras watching me, especially when I activate the self-driving capability on this vehicle. Then, boy, it's glued to me. It wants to make sure that I'm not even taking a sip of my pal's tea. Leonard, put down that tea. And so I do. So I may have to put up with my car bossing me around, but you don't have to put up with some salesperson trying to convince you to spend an extra $5,000 or $6,000 on a hybrid when it really doesn't make sense. But then again, if you can buy it right and you're driving, the way you drive your car, where you drive, the type of distances that you drive, how expensive fuel is where you live, all of those things can factor in, and buying a hybrid can be a good decision. But just be prepared to do the math. Well, thanks for listening to this edition of My Car Guru. If you have any questions, you can always send me a text, and I'll respond, 423-552-2020. And if you want a copy of the My Car Guru guidebook, which will certainly aid you in all of your automotive-related decision-making processes, just like how to negotiate a car deal. I mean, unfortunately, this business is a negotiation business, and you want to be prepared for that. And the guidebook will help make that easy. But there's much more in it than that, and if you're interested, send me your email address to my cell phone, 423-552-2020. It's free, and I'll send you a PDF, and you can share it with your kinfolk. Well, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.